With communication now lost with the Bezrael and his Blood Angel detachment, sent to purge the fated father and his brood, it is feared they have fallen to the Xenos infestation, and now they have been infected. Dark Angel Master Captain Drax de Leon has been summoned to investigate the fate of Bezrael's brothers, where they last lost contact, on the Imperial planet Gamera Primaris, in the Segmentum Ultimus sector. Welcome my brothers to another 2nd edition battle report here by the Crown of Command Games. Today we'd like to present Paul's Dark Angel army in all its glory. The first squad is the Brothers of the Feathered Oath, the first chapter of the Dark Angel army, the Deathwing Terminators. Next we feature the Tactical Squad Vengeance with a las cannon, a plasma gun, and the veteran sergeant carrying a plasma pistol. Next we have the Ravenwing detachment, the Black Talons, led by 3 Space Marine Ravenwing bikes, a Ravenwing attack bike, and then we have Red Wind, our land speeder, with assault cannon. And our character choices consist of the Lords of Caliban, Master Drax de Leon, Lexicanum Librarian Gabriel Scry, Standard Bearer Cassiel, and the Tech Marine Logan Crow. For the Genestealer forces, we have Carnifex's Brood. So let's start off with the Brood Brothers. 2 squadrons of 10 Brood Brothers armed with las guns and chainswords. Moving on now to Brood Infectors, led by a Neophyte Hybrid, accompanied by 7 Acolyte Hybrids. And for our shock troop choices, we have the Flesh Tearers, which are 2 broods of 8 Genestealers in each brood. For support choices, we have 2 Sentinels armed with assault cannons and a Mole Mortar. And finally, we have the fated father himself, the Patriarch, assisted by his Magus, Nexima, a 4th level Psyker, and the Icon Bearer, Califax. Next it was time to set the table with terrain, with rocky outcrops and some ruined Imperial buildings and a forest, and a river accompanying the corner of the table. Rolling for sides, I rolled a 4, giving me the advantage of taking the ruins for cover for my Sentinels and also for my Brood Brothers. The Space Marines, having a much higher strategy rating than the Genestealer cult, allowed them the advantage of seeing exactly where all the broods and the Genestealer forces would be placed in their deployment zone. The fated father and Nexima took shelter behind the Imperial ruins, whilst the Brood Brother squadrons, the Genestealers, and the Acolytes took to the field to make their way towards the Space Marines. The fated father ordering the Brood Brothers to go advance in front of the Genestealers, the Pure Strains, and the Hybrid Acolytes. Next it was the Dark Angels to deploy their forces. Paul decided to arrange his Dark Angels in a really tight formation, giving them supreme firepower on one side of the table. With the Dark Angels seizing initiative, the Ravenwing squadron, at fast speed, going down to the flank on the other side of the table. The other movements involved the Deathwing Terminators moving up 4 inches, and the Tactical Squad Vengeance making line of sight pathways to the Genestealers in front of them. To open up the shooting phase, Red Wind took a shot at the Brood Brothers in front of it, scoring 3 hits and killing 2 in the process. Next, the Brothers of the Feathered Oath opened up with their storm bolters on the genestealers that were advancing on their position, scoring a total of 7 hits, but miraculously none of the rolls wounded any of the genestealers, much to my surprise, and I'm sure Paul's too. Paul opened up the psychic phase, casting Quickening on his master. Following that, the Fated Father cast Psychic Scream, but it was out of range. With the psychic phase ending, I placed 1 force card in my force rod, and Paul placed 1 force card in his force sword. With the Genestealer's first turn, we took haste, moving all the Genestealers and the Brood Brothers as fast as we could, running them up the field, trying to close down between ourselves and the enemy. The Brood Brothers offering themselves as human shields to protect the acolytes behind them. One of the Sentinels took cover behind a rocky outcrop, with the perfect position to have a line of sight to Red Wind out in the open. The Fated Father was pleased as the shot rung true and hit home, scoring 5 hits. And from the fury of the assault cannon, we did manage to penetrate the armor of the Red Wind, bringing it down in a beautiful display of fire and smoke. The Genestealer Cult Mole Mortar Spotter had spotted the Black Talon, rolling a 2 on the Mole Mortar chart. Fortunately for Paul, the Black Talon survived, not causing any damage on the bikes. And unfortunately, the secondary Sentinel suffered a jam during the shooting phase. Having rolled 10 for the psychic phase, the Mage's Nexima cast the gate, but it was successfully nullified by Paul, ending the psychic phase, the Mage's Nexima placing 3 force cards in his force rod. At the end of both players' first turn, the Genestealer Cult player scored 150 points for taking out the Red Wind. The Fated Father was enraged when he saw reinforcements arrive with another landspeeder coming in onto the flank of the table. This gave Paul the opportune moment to attack me on the flank, leaving my side exposed on the Sentinel there lying near the rocks. Taking lead of the landspeeder, the Black Talons followed in quick pursuit. The unique thing about the Ravenwing is that they can take skid tests with a reroll. The attack bike with the twin-linked multi-melter broke off from the group and started converging on the centre of the table, towards the Brood Brothers. Showing no fear, the Deathwing Terminators approached, getting closer to the Genestealers, forming a solid defensive line in front of the Vengeance Tactical Squad. Their movement became clear as Brother Ezekiel opened up with his heavy flamer, covering 3 of the Genestealers. With the high strength and high save modifier of the heavy flamer, 3 of the Genestealers fell engulfed in flame. If that wasn't enough for the Flesh Terror Brood, the Storm Bolters on the Terminators opened up, scoring several hits. Fated Father screamed in agony as more of his children were slain to the bolter fire. The hive mind was disrupted and they forgot to place Sabotage on the Terminators, but instead they placed it on the Vengeance Squad. The Genestealers passed their morale check. Landspeeder opened up its shots against the Sentinel, causing 2 hits and 2 jams. The 2 shots that did hit the Sentinel hit true, and it exploded in a fury of fire and steel. Landspeeder wasn't done yet, opening it with a heavy bolter, causing another couple of hits and killing another Brood Brother. With the Dark Angel attack bike intent on thinning out the lines of Brew Brothers, another 2 fell to the twin-linked heavy multi-melters. With the Brood Brothers failing on a double 6, I played Insane Courage as my second strategy card. Nexima the Mages had Ultimate Force, opening up the gate to allow the Broods to come through and access on the Dark Angel's flank. Nexima cast the Machine Curse, Paul trying to nullify, rolling a 2, failing, and then placing a template in front of the attack bike. Machine Curse template hopefully providing some additional obstacle between me and the Dark Angel's attack on the flank. Remaining Genestealer from the Flesh Terrors charged into the Deathwing to avenge its fallen brethren. And he was not alone, as his other brothers on the other side were able to charge through the gate and connect with the flank of the Deathwing Terminators. And the Brood Brothers came in with the Icon Bearer to protect the Mages, as he's quite vulnerable now to enemy fire. Word from the Hive Mind was to retreat, with the Neophyte and his acolytes retreating behind the Imperial ruins. The fated father felt that his presence was needed to inspire his troops on the battlefield, so he came out of hiding. The Brood Brothers missile launcher opened up with a crack missile on the Landspeeder, but missed, rolling a 5, needing a 6. As the Mole Mortar could see through the template of the Machine Curse, he selected the target as the attack bike in this round. But resulting in no damage on the attack bike itself, or the riders. And the remaining Brood Brothers were unsuccessful in shooting any of the attack bikes on the flank. The Dark Angels may have fire superiority over the Genestealer cult, but the Genestealer cult does shine in hand-to-hand combat, with both the Broods of the Flesh Terrors making use of their 4 limbs and super sharp talons, tearing apart the tactical dreadnought armour of the Deathwing Terminators. The Genestealer Magus and Patriarch were also dominant in the Psychic phase, Nexima opening up the Carmine Assassin, but it was shut down with Demonic Attack. But fortunately enough, he was not dragged into the warp. Fated Father now casting Psychic Scream with 2 force, and was in range this time against the Lexicanum Librarian, but he passed his leadership test. And my last action of the phase was to nullify the Quickening on the Master. At the end of the second turn, the Spacemarines have leapt to 2 victory points in destroying the Sentinel and at least 50% of the Flesh Terror Brood. And no Space Marine or Genestealer can fight a battle with an empty stomach, so today we're bringing you Pizza Carbo with their Zaku Zaku crispy chicken and delicious pizza. The Dark Angel starting their third turn, the attack bike did make some maneuvers, skidding around the rocky outcrop to make advantage of the line of sight to the second Sentinel. The Black Talons also started converging onto the centre of the table to try to take some twin-link bolter shots at the Brood Brothers, who were looking very vulnerable at this stage. The Soul Cannon now jammed for the last 2 turns of the game. Paul decided to place it into cover and make use of its heavy bolters in following turns. The unrepenting Deathwing Terminators again engulfed the now fresh brood of Flesh Terrors with its heavy flamer, inflicting multiple casualties in the process. But after suffering heavy losses, the Flesh Terrors remained cool-headed and they stayed in the fight. Ammunition checks were made for sabotage on the Vengeance Tactical Squadron. After that salvo of fire, at least 5 of the flesh tearers remained to make their final assault onto the Marines in their positions. The relentless bolter shells inflicted heavy wounds and losses on the Brew Brothers. The final shot coming from the twin-link multi-melter upon the Sentinel, reducing the Sentinel to molten metal. The hand-to-hand combat phase ensued with the remaining flesh terror against the Master Captain, resulting in a draw. Librarian Gabriel rolled for the psychic phase, casting quickening upon the battle standard bearer, trying to nullify that, rolling a 1 and then forgetting I had a psychic hood on the Magus. All action of the phase was casting Carmine Assassin upon his librarian, but he passed with a 1 on his toughness test. With the Genestealers now charging into Logan, the Tech Marine, and the Vengeance tactical squads, they both passed their fear checks. The Sentinel now in the compulsory phase would go out of control, and unfortunately it limped forward and then fell over on top of the Brood Brothers in front of it. The Fated Father now voyaging through warp space to enter out through the other side of the gate, met up with his advisor, the Magus. With the Icon Bearer now within proximity, he opened up with his hand flamer, engulfing the entire attack bike in flame, killing the riders and now forcing it out of control. The Brew Brothers here close to the attack bikes opened up with their las guns and missile launcher, but failing to hit anything and doing any significant damage to the Black Talons. The Tech Marine, Logan, cut down the Genestealer in front of it with its power axe. And with the high number of attacks and weapon skill initiative of the Genestealers, the tactical squad Vengeance was just not capable of withstanding its blows, and the brothers fell in turn. Psychic phase again brought high numbers of psychic force cards. Again, Psychic Scream was delivered by the Fated Father, but then nullified again. Carmine Assassin was also directed against the Lexicanum Librarian, Gabriel, but again passing his toughness test. The Magus Nexima decided to shut down the gates, making retreat impossible, and also the Machine Curse was lifted. And looking at the victory points at the end of turn 3, the Marines now lead at 5 and the Genestealer Cult at 2. Reaching the penultimate turn 4, can both commanders reach their objectives for their secret missions? We'll have to find out. With the Ravenwing attack bike in flames, it now moved out of control and exploded near the ruins. Librarian Gabriel decided to charge the Genestealer with his foresword. Cassell, the standard bearer, under the influence of the quickening psychic power, is drawing a line of sight to the Magus and the Fated Father. And the Black Talon Ravenwing squadron deploy a hit-and-run tactic to take out the remaining Brew Brothers. Miraculously, the heavy weapon Brood Brother fought off the veteran sergeant on his attack bike, even though encumbered with his heavy weapon, managed to survive. The Landspeeder and the Deathwing started to approach to make line of sight to their targets in the movement phase. Squad also started to rearrange their ranks so they could draw a line of sight to the Genestealers. With the Heavy Flamer wanting to shoot at the Fated Fire behind that rocky outcrop, we decided to roll on a 4, 5, or 6 that is able to do it, but on a roll of 1 he was unable to shoot. but the remaining Terminators opened fire, causing a wound on the fated father. The now quickened Cassiel opened up with his bolter, shooting twice, and with the power field equipped on the Magus, saved both shots. Ammunition rolls were made for the Tactical Squad Vengeance, with 2 Marines out of ammunition. In the shots that were fired, another Genestealer succumbed to another bolter shot. The heavy bolter opened up on the Landspeeder, killing another Broodbrother in the process. And both the Master Captain and Gabriel cut down both the Genestealers. Logan did lose a fight, and the Tech Marine was lost. When that Genestealer to follow up, close to Gabriel. All played Energy Drain, ending the Psychic phase. Last remaining Flesh Terror found its opportunity to engage Gabriel to cut him down in the hand-to-hand combat phase. The fated father found coverage and safety behind the rocky outcrop. The remaining Broodbrother with missile launcher opened up with a frag missile, this time deviating but hitting 2 of the other bikes, causing one of the bikes to go out of control and flip and then blow up. That wasn't all for us, the Genestealer cult, with the Mole Mortar now having its sights on that biker squadron, resulting in both of those bikes being destroyed and out of control by the end of that phase. Now, to finish what we seek to came to do, to kill Gabriel the Librarian, which we successfully did, removing him from the game, but alas, he was saved and thwarted our plans in the end. In the last ditch attempt, the Mages cast the Horror, but with the Marines of such high leadership, it proved ineffectual. And bringing us to the end of turn 4 of the game. Could you guess what secret missions we both had? Well, if you couldn't, let's go and find out. With no surprise really, the Genestealer cult had Witch Hunt, and Paul had Guerrilla War, secretly noting down all the kills he made in hand-to-hand combat, giving the Dark Angels the victory at 6 victory points to 4, and finally bringing end to the incursion of the Genestealer cult. Hope you guys enjoyed this battle report as much as I did enjoy making it with Paul, and look forward to the Tears of Isha campaign starting soon for our Games of Warhammer 5th edition. And please remember to like, subscribe, and comment on this video, or else, well, that's what he said.